Sticking to the theme of belligerent Labor politicians acting like tinpot dictators, I can't think of a better time than to introduce our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese.
Hamas do not want a two-state solution. They say that the alleged statement from the person yesterday is someone who's been in prison in Israel since October 2023 and has no means of communication. What that should be is a warning to the media of being very careful about the fact that Hamas will engage in propaganda.
Propaganda, hey? It is always curious when the most powerful politician does this. One whose party spreads misinformation all over social media every election, who lies, who breaks promises, who brushes off criticism with dismissive and angry retorts to journalists. It is so funny to me when these people, who are supposed to serve you, start lecturing us all about propaganda. So what is he on about now, and which journalists has he publicly accused of spreading terror propaganda?
A senior official of the terrorist group that triggered the Gaza conflict has welcomed the Prime Minister's decision to recognise Palestine. The opposition has leapt on the endorsement by Hamas as proof that Anthony Albanese has acted prematurely.
When the Prime Minister announced his historic move to recognise Palestinian statehood, he made this declaration.
Hamas don't support two states. Hamas support one state, in their words, from the river to the sea.
Anthony Albanese arguing that by joining the French and Brits in the move, the terror outfit would be isolated. Think again. A Hamas co-founder welcoming the move. Sheikh Hassan Youssef telling 9 newspapers the PM's position reflects political courage and a commitment to the values of justice.
Being praised by Hamas for courage probably doesn't poll very well. The story was broken by the Sydney Morning Herald's Matthew Knott, who was the reporter to obtain the quotes. And the ABC obtained a similar statement from a Hamas spokesperson, which also backed in the decision. But another Hamas figure, Bassem Naim, released a different statement to the AFR, suggesting that it was impossible for the Sydney Morning Herald to get that quote as the terrorist had been locked up. The SMH later clarified that it was the office of the terrorist which supplied the quote, kind of like how Albanese's office sends out quotes to be attributed to him all of the time. And do we really think that Albo was sitting there tweeting photos like this from Wednesday, where he shoved his face full of a pie, perhaps a reward for single-handedly fixing the Middle East? But I imagine it was actually his large team of taxpayer-funded staff who workshopped this charming message to Australians: nothing better than a pie stop on a busy day. He's so quaint and reliable, isn't he? But I do digress. We have no way of knowing which one of these evil terrorists are telling the truth. But Albanese chose to side with the terror quote which suited him best. There were 3 quotes attributed to terrorists floating around, but he backed the one which allowed him to dismiss critical media coverage as propaganda. And in doing so, by picking a side, he was the one to then validate terrorist propaganda. He allowed Hamas propaganda to cast doubt over the reporting of an Australian journalist. James, really complex story, and I think a lot of journalists missed the nuance and they didn't quite realise. I mean, I hope that they missed it. I hope it wasn't just this intentional disregard for what happened. But what do you make of him selecting which quote he wants, selectively choosing what statements from Hamas are legitimate, what are propaganda? You know, this person is validating one and disregarding others.
Yeah, it's this level of like, to quote Hamas to prove that you aren't referencing Hamas.
And you can't quote Hamas.
And yeah, to like say, hey, Hamas have said you can't quote Hamas, so I'm quoting Hamas to say you can't quote Hamas. Like, that's that level of 4D chess, like big brain thinking.
And you've got these journalists nodding along saying,
like, oh yeah, that sounds
legitimate.
Right. But like, the thing to me is that Albanese has really backed himself into a corner here, because when you say, I want to recognise Palestine, but the proviso is Hamas can no longer play a part in the government, that no clear-minded person is going to go, oh, that's really damaging to Hamas. Like, that's he's clearly taken the side of Israel. Like, Hamas would be, of course Hamas want Palestine to be recognised. Of course, this is something that Hamas are going to benefit from.
It's a conflation of two issues.
It's a conflation.
But Penny Wong was also asked whether they would still recognise if Hamas was in control, and she said yes.
But the thing is, so if Hamas stands to recognise it, Albanese, an honest position would have been, look, I am so disgusted by what I'm seeing in Gaza. I am so over this war that I will take the hit of whatever Hamas's recognition of this is going to be, to say that I would support a two-state solution and I just want to see peace. But instead to say, actually, you know what I've done is big brain thinking again. I'm actually positioning Hamas in a corner where they're going to be so disgusted that I'm actually recognising the state of Palestine. You can't defend that. So what you end up doing is having these, well, Hamas said this, Hamas said that. Actually, Hamas, my preferred Hamas spokesperson, said this. And suddenly we're just in absolute crazy town in the media debate around this.
Couldn't agree more. Mia, your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to agree there with James. I mean, this has been a dream of Albanese's and Penny Wong's since their uni days. There is no doubt at some stage that they were going to try and put this proposal forward. But, I mean, to all of a sudden be so concerned with propaganda coming out of Hamas, I mean, what was going to fuel that propaganda more than legitimising their cause? If Albanese was so concerned about giving them fuel for their fire, how would he think that saying something like this wasn't just going to hand them a free kick on this one?
Yeah, completely agree. And I hope that Albo never, ever quotes Hamas health ministry data on the death count because, you know, obviously you can't trust them. Anyway, before we move on, I want to show you how the ABC tackled this whole terror Prime Minister scandal. They tracked him down to the Ekka in Brisbane, my beloved hometown. And I hear that these taxpayer-funded journalists say that they hold power to account all the time. So this is going to be good. Let's have a listen.
So what do you reckon? How is it?
It's very hard to talk at this point in time. You waited until I ate the strawberry before you asked the question. It is awesome.
Well, you've heard it from the Prime Minister here first. Strawberry sundaes, are they the highlight?
Come on, put it in your gob now.
I am.
I had to for the interview.
Go on.
Go on, there you go. Now, how are the strawberry sundaes?
Oh, he's done it to me too.
Mia, how do you rate that hard-hitting journalism?
Yeah, that's some real getting to the bottom of all the truth on that one, isn't it? But, I mean, this is a bit like the pie shot that Albanese's team put up there. It's this attempt to kind of humanise Albanese. You know, they've got him with the pie. This is friendly Albo. There he is, bantering along with the journalist. Oh, this is jolly, silly, goofy Albo, and they'll do it. Here's Albo with Taylor Swift. And they do it over and over and over and again in some attempt to try and humanise this man. But, I mean, we all know the most authentic Albo was him standing on the Great Wall of China cosplaying as Gough Whitlam.
That's such a good point. I mean, look, the irony of this as well, James, is that this is actually a form of propaganda. It's like this soft propaganda, but it is an actual legitimate form of propaganda when you're running around there, as Mia says, humanising him, making him seem quaint. He's the everyman. He's not a politician. He's just your average Joe. It's the Albo vernacular as well. What do you make of all this?
You're making a lot of good points, but I'm struggling to just keep track of the conversation because I think I can't be right on this one. I think I just heard Albanese say to a female reporter, put that in your gob. I just can't, look, whataboutism is the lowest form of political argument. I hate it, but could you imagine if Scott Morrison said that? Like, how viral would that have been as just a moment of absolute cringe?
Yeah,
but that's
the ABC loves him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he'll get away with all of it.